Alex laid peacefully on his bed in his room, staring blankly at the wooden ceiling and bland interior designs. He would be leaving his parents behind for Holster Academy the next day. And frankly, he didn't know how to feel about it, overwhelmed by emotions he hadn't felt before. Just when he had lost all hope of joining an academy, a light in the dark tunnel emerged. Or maybe I shouldn't have accepted Gavin's invite. For all I know, Holster Academy might be a crude and lackluster version of Royal Academy. They all are, Alex said to himself and continued. Why am I this emotional thinking about leaving? A sad smile broke out on his face. His parents were the only friends he had in the entire town. Today was his first day stepping outside the ambits of their compound, but that didn't mean he was some shy and timid kid. In fact, it was the opposite. He wouldn't have had the guts to talk bad about Royal Academy in front of the lady representative if he was. He certainly was quite bold and confident despite his lonely upbringing. Soon his eyelids felt too heavy to remain open, pulled into the irresistible embrace of sleep, and he slowly drifted to sleep without a care in the world. Tomorrow will definitely sort itself out. He would just do what he had to do. A lone figure suddenly stepped into his room through the half-closed door and walked straight to Alex's bed. The lone figure was none other than his father, Lucius Pendragon. He stared down at his son with a smile, but his eyes carried faint traces of sadness in them. He was about to make a hard and difficult choice for his son, but he knew it was going to be for the best. It had to be the best. He was never wrong. I know you're strong enough, son. You'll wade your way through the challenges and make me proud. I know you will survive. A Pendragon always does. Lucius said those words, the smile on his face fading away with his words as his eyes glistened with a strange light that soon vanished as fast as it appeared. Lucius' gaze became even more serious, and then he stretched out a palm facing it upward, causing a soft, radiant glow to emanate from the center of his palm, growing and spreading to what seemed to be a magic circle. It shimmered with strange letters and in runic symbols, gradually taking a somewhat tangible form in reality, sparkling with an ethereal red light. His irises flickered, gaining a tinge of equal red in tune with the magic circle that hovered above his palm. An ominous aura descended, causing a breakout of sweat which streamed down the sides of his head. With a snap of his fingers, the glowing circle made of runic symbols and letters suddenly expanded and was etched on Alex's bed, his body laying above it. Slowly, it rotated clockwise beneath Alex, who lay above the magic circle. Soon after, his body began to levitate, floating a dozen inches above his bed. The light in Lucius's eyes intensified, and then he flicked his wrist, and another magic circle was birthed into reality. It was far smaller than the first and seemed to resonate with the larger magic circle in a strange way, but unlike it, it rotated anti-clockwise above Alex's floating body. I hope you don't get too mad at this father of yours, son. Although if I were in your shoes, I'd be mad as hell. You just gotta believe me on this one. It's for the best, Lucius said with a grin, and then pushed down the smaller magic circle towards Alex's chest. The larger magic circle reacted in unison with the smaller one, as though a kind of magnet. It slowly contracted and began to shrink as the smaller magic circle got closer, until it was as small as the magic circle above Alex's body, which Lucius was pushing down towards Alex's chest. Seal, Lucius muttered softly, his voice deep and lingering with a mysterious intensity. They carried a heavy weight in them that made even the magic circles shudder and vibrate. Immediately, the two magic circles moved so fast, still rotating clockwise and anti-clockwise while approaching Alex's body, and then disappeared into it, releasing a warm orange glow that soon died down. His floating body landed softly on the bed, but he didn't wake up nor show any signs of discomfort. Not unless Lucius wanted him to. With a heavy sigh, Lucius turned around and left Alex to rest away the stress of the hectic day he had. The grin on his face faded away, and so did the echoing sounds of his footsteps on the wooden floorboard. Several hours passed, leading to morning when Alex finally awoke to the sweet and delicious aroma of meat soup. He could feel his mouth watering up just from overly inhaling aroma of the product his mother's culinary skills. Like a butterfly drawn to nectar, Alex swiftly got up from his bed, oblivious of the incident that happened while asleep. He struggled to throw off the sheets that covered him and finally succeeded, and then without wasting even a second, He hastily got out of bed. "Oh my, Mom surely knows how to make my mood better," Alex said as he sprinted for the door and slammed it shut, speeding down the wooden stairs of the house. The food didn't last a while, as it was consumed pretty fast by Alex. His appetite was simply crazy for a teenager like him, gobbling the whole thing down like a starved elephant. "Go freshen up, son. It's almost time for you to leave," Amaya said as she cleared the table for Alex. "Okay, Mom, but where's Dad? It's unusual for him not to be awake by now?" Alex asked curiously. His dad usually was in the sitting room by this time, always reading the news of recent happenings in the region with a cup of steaming hot coffee. But today, he wasn't anywhere Alex had laid eyes on. "Oh, your dad will be out soon. He went to pick something from our room," Amaya replied and ruffled Alex's hair. After the interaction with his mom, he nodded and left to do as she instructed. Within a few minutes, he was back in the sitting room once again, but this time with a bag stuffed with his belongings. He wore his favorite shirt and a pair of trousers. His hair was well combed and neatly styled to showcase the streaks of red hair mixed with the black. He probably got the color combination from his parents, since Lucius has a crimson hair, and Amaya having a vibrant black obsidian hair. "Look who's ready to leave for Bolster Academy," Lucius said with a broad smile, and gave Alex a warm hug as he walked out of a side doorway. Alex squirmed in his dad's grip, struggling to break free from it with a smile on his face. "It's Holster Academy, young old man. And what's that in your hands? Let me see it, Dad," Alex said, causing his dad to laugh at his futile efforts of breaking away from his firm grip. How did Alex think he could break away from his muscular arms that had withstood the weight and hammering of metals long before he was born? "Well, as a parting gift, I made you a sword. It's an Azure-grade sword created with an F-rank beast core, and you know what that means, right?" Lucius replied with a grin as he let go of Alex and handed him the sheathed sword. "It has magical energy coursing through it?" Alex's eyes lingered on the sword, and he couldn't resist the urge to unsheath it and take a proper glance at it. He had always loved swords and would swing sticks in the backyard, practicing being a swordsman one day. There are various grades of weapons which are assigned based on the level of craftsmanship, as well as the resources used in creating them. And also there are several ranks of beast cores, which depends on the rank of the beast it was harvested from. This was the first time Alex was holding a proper sword, a real one. A shing sound was heard as Alex unsheathed the sword, revealing a lustrous steel blade that glistened and released a warm feeling that immediately spread to Alex's palm wrapped around the hilt of the sword. "It's so incredible," Alex muttered softly as his eyes trailed on the delicate patterns and symbolic lines etched on the handle of the blade. Amaya stepped into the living room, seeing the happy smiles on the faces of the father and son pair. She wasn't going to be left out. She suddenly tossed an object at Alex, which he caught instinctively, and stared at the object with traces of surprise evident in his eyes. It was a ring. But not just any ring, it was an enchanted ring. He could feel the uniqueness and strangeness, as though it hid a whole world beneath its metallic casing. Actually, it was a ring with spatial properties. It had a pocket dimension within it. It was a classical storage artifact in the world of Aragon. "I put a few things in it that we think you'll need for your stay in the academy. As much as it pains me to say this, it's time already. You should be on your way if you wish to catch up with the old man from Holster Academy," Amaya said as she walked forward and gave Alex a peck on his head. "I'll miss you guys, and I promise to make you proud," Alex said, his eyes getting a bit watery. "I know you will, son. Don't forget, you're a Pendragon. Always and forever," Lucius said with a slight smile. Soon after, Alex left the wooden house of his parents and ran in the direction of the town square with his luggage and sword. He couldn't help but feel a sinking feeling in his stomach as he felt a part of him slipping away. That part being his parents. The engine of a large, bulky, and armored vehicle roared to life the moment everyone was seated on their seats. Alex had made it to the town square, and the newly recruited students as well as the old man Gavin were now heading for Holster Academy without any delay, leaving Marco Town behind. The journey to Holster Academy was uneventful and boring for Alex. The only thing he enjoyed a bit was the view of the places and areas they passed. A bit, because of how fast the spade was. The vehicle was nothing but amazing. Before he could make out the objects he saw, they would be gone in a seconds. 3 individuals, including Alex, had been selected by Gavin to join Holster Academy. One of them, a lady, tried striking up a conversation with a student that was seated beside her, asking questions about the academy, but that only lasted a few minutes. The air was filled with unspoken words, each one attending to their own thoughts. It was also quite tensed, as Tom caught a glimpse of a smallish boy fidgeting in his seat. He looked too small to be a teenager and could be mistaken for a 7-year-old kid. Hours passed, and it was evening. The Spade was still on the road, shooting forward with an admirable speed, covering lots of ground within minutes, but still not reaching their destination. They had passed through several villages and towns as well as a city, causing the Spade vehicle to reduce its dangerous momentum due to the fact that the streets of the city was busy and buzzing with people, other transit vehicles and machinery that Alex had never seen in his life. I heard from that student the lady was speaking to that the journey would be for a whole day. If so, I should better eat something. I'm starving already, Alex thought to himself. He had checked the magical ring his mother gave him and noticed that she had packaged some of the remnants of the meat soup for him. It was the last meal of his mother he would have in a long while, so he wanted to enjoy it comfortably. Alex summoned the packaged food from the ring, causing space to react as a flask appeared in his hands. His action caused surprised and envious stares from the others, especially as he opened the glass lid of the flask, letting the aroma pervade the Spade vehicle. There was one in particular, a student, who kept stealing glances at Alex's hand. Alex noticed this but didn't mind, assuming he wanted to have a taste of his meal. He felt sorry for them that they had nothing to eat and wasn't willing to share the last of his mother's cooking with anyone. For all I care, you all can eat shit, Alex harumphed. The aroma of the meat soup wafted through the air, causing more stares directed his way, yet in front of them Alex consumed his meal unapologetically, with an unnerving smile on his face, causing the others to hopelessly salivate. Meanwhile, in a large luxurious dinner room with beautiful chandeliers hanging harmoniously from the ceiling, a table filled with delicious and tantalizing dishes could be seen, nearly arranged and prepared, ranging from grains to meat to vegetables to wines as well as pastries. The sound of merry and laughter could be heard and felt in the room, resonating and rebounding the walls of the room. This was the dinner room of the White family. At one end was a man who looked to be in his late 50s. His black hair was cut short and gray at the sides, and on his face was a pair of rectangular-shaped glasses. At his right-hand side sat a teenage girl with enchanting light blue eyes, same as the man sitting beside her. A smile hung on her lips as she ate the meal on her plate, but one could easily tell that the smile was devoid of any form of genuity. There were 6 chairs at the sides of the silver dining table, 2 occupied by the middle-aged man and the teenage girl. The others were occupied by the rest members of the immediate White family. A lady sat opposite the man. By her right side, 2 young men were seated, and by her left side, a teenage boy and then the girl, both having a striking facial resemblance. It's shocking that I'm at the 3rd designation already, Mikhail said with a broad smile on his face, laughing proudly, causing his shoulders to buckle up and down. As expected of my firstborn son. I'm proud of you, my boy, the man replied with a firm nod, a warm smile on his face. He was Gerald White, the head of the White family. We're so proud of you, son. You never cease to amaze us. Keep it up. We're rooting for you. Keep making the White family proud, the lady happily said. Mikhail's 2 younger brothers shared in his joy as they congratulated him with happy smiles. Hazel, won't you congratulate your brother? Gerald said, glancing at his littlest child. At the same time, the girl, Hazel, spoke out, her tone quite defiant. Dad, I also want to join an academy. Immediately, the cheery atmosphere was plunged into a heavy silence, almost crippling as the clangs of silver spoons colliding with the plates ceased almost instantly. The silence was broken with a deep sigh from Gerald. Sweetie, we've talked about this before more times than I can count. You cannot join an academy. There's absolutely no need for you to join one. With your ability, you'll lead our White family to greater heights. Everything you need is and will be provided for you, right here. I don't care about leading the family, Dad. Why doesn't Mikhail do that instead? He's the first child after all. This is my life. I'll choose the way I want to live it. Not you, not the White family." Hazel replied, frustrated by the same reply she always got from her father, her tone rising and a bit of anger seeping into her voice. None of them had ever heard Gerald being spoken to in such a way. After all, he was Gerald White, one of the 4 kings of l'Aurora Empire, a monarch in his own right. His clear blue eyes glistened with an amused light as he dropped his fork, which has a piece of meat at the end, and then slowly massages his chin. Gerald chuckled after hearing the feminine, childish voice of Hazel. "Watch your tone, sweetie. The last time I checked, I am still your father, and it is my responsibility to do whatever is best for you, whether you like it or not. And as far as you live under my roof, you will do as I say. Is that clear?" Gerald stated, and locked eyes with Hazel. Unable to withstand the overbearing gaze of her father, Hazel was forced to look away. She clenched her fist, biting down on her lip. Instead of replying, she abruptly stood up and hurriedly walked away, suppressing the tears in her eyes from rolling down her cheeks. Hazel pushed open the large double doors that led out of the dinner room and headed for a set of spiraling stairs. Her anger and pain was understandable when it was taken into account that she had been the only one locked up indoors for all her life. She never really got the chance to interact with people other than her, parents, maids, and servants, and then her siblings, who were recently not always available as they had joined the Royal Academy, leaving her behind. Her whole life she felt caged. The very walls she stared at each day were her prison walls. Yes, she had everything she needed. But what about the things she wanted? She wanted to experience life for herself. The danger her parents always said was out there. She wanted to experience it, and she wouldn't stop fighting until she could finally breathe the fresh air of the morning, until she could run in the rain and play with friends that would be free to say whatever they wanted to say around her. She wouldn't stop until she was free. Hazel sat at the side of her luxurious purple bed. Using a handkerchief, she dabbed the edges of her eyes and let out a deep sigh and smiled ever so cutely. "As far as I live under your roof, you say? Well, everything went just as I thought it would," Hazel said to herself, and chuckled fiendishly. The smiling girl seated at the edge of her bed was a vast contrast from the girl in the White family dinner room. Hazel was brought out of her thoughts by the sound of a knock on her door. "Baby girl, you there?" Her mother's voice reached her ears, penetrating the metallic automated door. She remained seated, contemplating whether she should open the door or not. Was she angry at her mom? Certainly not. Did she blame her mother for what happened? Maybe. She didn't even know. Hearing the plea and worry in her mother's voice as she knocked once again, her heart softened, and she stood up and let her in. The two of them sat on the luxurious bed with Floral's arms wrapped around her daughter. "I'm sorry about what happened, baby girl. You know your dad can be hard sometimes. That's just because he's protective." Floral was speaking, but was interrupted by Hazel. "He's overprotective. What's wrong with going to an academy?" Floral smiled, pulling Hazel to rest on her chest. "That's because you're the ace of our family. If rival families were to know of your ability, they would either try to take you for themselves or make it such that none of us would have you. By that I mean they will seek to kill you." Hazel sighed and gave Floral a long, warm hug. "You can't be certain about that. I've made up my mind already. I want to experience the world for myself. I want to be free from this cage. I'm going to miss you, Mom," Hazel said internally. After that, Floral left the room. It was already late in the evening. The sun had gone down, and the sky had darkened. It was a starless and moonless night. Hazel sat in front of a table placed opposite her large mirror that was attached to the wall of her room. Various ornaments and ointment were displayed on the surface of the table. One in particular, a violet liquid in a bowl, was placed in front of her, which she evenly began to apply on her silk black hair, dyeing its color from jet black to a vibrant violet. After Hazel was done, she went over to her bathroom and the sound of the shower was heard for some minutes. She dried her now wet and violet hair with a towel and hairdryer before styling it into pigtails. Suddenly, a knock was heard on the door of her room. A panicked expression appeared on her face until she heard the voice of the person knocking. "Hayes, you there? It's me." "Thank goodness. It's just Jason." She sighed in relief and went to open the door. Jason walked into the room, his face looking identical to that of Hazel. When he saw her now violet hair, he shook his head and sighed. So you're really carrying out this crazy plan of yours? Dad left me no choice, Hazel replied. I see your mind is already made up. Here, take this. That's all I've got for now, Jason said, handing her 10 golden coins. Mom, Dad, and Mikal are in the sitting room below. Jared is in his room, and I'm... Here, Jason reported, a sad expression appearing on his face. Hazel took the coins and gave her twin brother a tight hug. I'm going to miss you, Jace. I promise. I'll be fine. Jason nodded and left, leaving Hazel to her endeavors. A few minutes later, she was dressed in a black hooded jacket that covered her hair and black sweatpants. An electronic pad displaying a map appeared in her hands, which she summoned from the ring on her finger. Royal Academy is the closest academy I can get to, but Dad will easily find me there. I'll let fate decide this one, Hazel thought to herself. She put the electronic pad back in her magical storage ring, and immediately after, she left her room through the window, leaving the luxuries behind and looking forward to experiencing life to its fullest. Meanwhile, Alex and the rest of the recruits from Marco Town finally got to a new city. We seem to have reached our destination. Holster City, huh? I guess the academy got its name from the city, Alex thought and smiled, expectant to reach the academy. He marveled at the skyscrapers and high-rise buildings in the city. Its inhabitants looked elegant, all dressed in nicely tailored suits, expensive pieces of jewelry, or driving beautifully designed cars that made little to no noise. The difference between Holster City and Marco Town was akin to night and day. They journeyed a few hours before a wall appeared on the horizon. As they got closer, the wall became taller and wider. The wall was white and looked like it was cut from a hard rock, and its surface was rigid and uneven. It turned out to be a fence that stood about 70 meters in height and stretched for several kilometers. The spade reached a dark blue-colored gate that was 20 times the size of the spade. On top of the gate were letters made of the same material the gate was made from, forming the words, Holster Academy. After traveling for a day and some hours, Alex and the others had finally arrived at the academy. The large gates of Holster Academy were opened after the spade vehicle made a loud honk. Then they drove into the academy but were stopped by a guard dressed in dark blue light armor. The side window of the vehicle was rolled down, and Gavin showed the guard a pass card. After that, they took a left turn before coming to a stop. Listen up, everyone, Gavin said. Those of you who are recruited through the selection will need to be registered before being accepted into your new status as official students of Holster Academy. One of the students here will lead you to the administrative block to be registered. I'll lead them. Instructor Gavin, one of the students volunteered. It was the boy who kept stealing glances at Alex during their ride to the academy. Thank you, Tang Mahito. You can lead them right away, Gavin said, and pressed on one of the control buttons and the doors of the vehicle opened up. Alex, the other two teenagers, and the student, Tang, alighted from the vehicle. Alex was surprised by the sheer size of the academy. It was almost as big as a university campus, with several tall, massive, and large buildings. He took in a deep breath and could tell that the air felt different here. He couldn't quite place a finger on it, but it was different. The trio followed after Tang as they walked into the administrative building. It was near the gate, so they only had to walk a couple of meters before they reached their destination. I won't be joining you guys in there, so this is where I stop. Good luck on the test, Tang said with a smile. Thank you, Alex and the others said in unison before walking into the building. I wonder how you own a magical storage artifact while coming from such a small town. Well, not for long, Tang thought to himself, as a dubious light flashed across his eyes.
It's the first time I've seen a money-making app that gives so much money.